be chairing this committee of the whole. We also are pleased to have with us the county commissioners and the mayor. And the item on our agenda is a briefing on the Y2K, from the Y2K Planning Committee, and I'll just go ahead and let you guys brief us, and then I believe we'll have time for some questions.
I'll just go ahead and stand up because I'm kind of short. Kate threw me a curve here. She didn't tell me I was doing the introduction, so I'm going to wing it. Basically, what we wanted to do is just to give you an update on where we are in the Y2K preparedness process.
Just a minute, for the record, maybe it's best if you guys identify yourself.
Sure, I'm Bill Silverman, Missoula County Office of Emergency Management.
I'm Jack Hunt, Assistant Manager of Missoula Electric Cooperative. I'm the spokesperson for the Utility Committee of the Y2K Planning Team.
And I'm Kate Pope. I'm the Y2K co-coordinator for the City of Missoula.
Just to give you a little background, we've had a Y2K planning team that's met monthly since January, and that's included about 35 representatives from different emergency response agencies, as well as schools, utility companies, hospitals, etc., and the media. We've had a pretty well-rounded group there, and it's been a great experience. I have to say that everybody involved in that has been real committed to the process, and most of those people, the agencies that they've represented, have made remarkable progress throughout the year. I think about a year ago, if you asked how we felt about Y2K, we wouldn't be quite as confident as we are today, and I think that came out of our year-long process of planning. I guess I'll just leave that as the introduction, and I'll go into the community contingency planning. I was designated to talk a little bit about public safety services, and just to give you some information on that, fire, law enforcement, EMS will all have extra staffing available on New Year's Eve. They will leave enough people off shift to fill shifts after that if we continue to have any problems after the initial New Year's Eve shift. A couple of good things that come out of this year. Y2K has forced us to reevaluate our preparedness status in the community, in the public safety community. I think at this point, we've all looked at our contingency plans, we've looked at our equipment, we've updated, and just as an example, I think when we started this process, there may have been 3 or 4 fire stations with backup generators, and now, I think, Bob, how many stations do you have with backup power?
4.
Okay, out of 5?
4 out of 4.
4 out of 4.
I can have 5.
Okay. There's a little plug for the fire department. And I know that City Hall, you've got a new generator here, and it kicks on automatically, and I know we've addressed the issues at the county as well. So it's been a real good process. It's been a great chance to reevaluate where we are in the preparedness in general for emergencies. On New Year's Eve, we will operate the Emergency Operations Center in the county courthouse with a small staff. The idea of operating that center on New Year's Eve, we have a few reasons. One, we want to serve as an information clearinghouse for both the media, the public, and for ourselves, so we know what's going on around the world, nationally, statewide, and locally. And we will filter that information both in and out as quickly as possible. We'll also serve as a support system for public safety. We'll have liaisons assigned from all the different safety and emergency response folks in the community, so that we can gather information, and if they need resources, we can allocate those through the Emergency Operations Center. So the likely scenario is I'll probably come in fairly early in the day, and then we'll start staffing maybe about 8 o'clock in the evening, and we'll run as long as we have to. Right now, I don't anticipate going to additional shifts after New Year's Eve, but depending on the circumstances, we'll deal with that as it comes. I feel pretty good about things in general in terms of the public safety preparedness at this point for Y2K. I think we've come a long way since a year ago, and I feel like we're really ready to take whatever we get. We don't anticipate at this time any large problems, but with Y2K being a once-in-a-lifetime event, and hopefully once in a lifetime, I don't plan that to be around in the year 3000. We're pretty comfortable with our planning, and we'll just take what we get, but we feel pretty comfortable with the way things are right now. I'll just turn it over to Jack to talk about the utilities.
Okay, thank you, Bill. The utility stakeholders, as Bill pulled this group together, it has been an excellent opportunity for us to coordinate our contingency plans. We in the utility business, our main business is service restoration, whether it be the water company, the gas company, the electric companies, the phone company, whatever it is, our daily jobs are service restoration. And so this has afforded us the opportunity to come together as a group of utilities and compare and coordinate our contingency plans, communications, and then expand that to the emergency services folks, the hospital folks within Missoula and Missoula County. So the whole thing of the Y2K planning team has been beneficial to us all, and we've been very active in it and want to see this continue into the future, because there will be a disaster that happens to Missoula or Missoula County. As you know, became very apparent to us October 31st, Mother Nature decided to turn the lights out and a lot of utility services in the area. And therefore, we can never in the utility business guarantee uninterrupted service. That's why our daily jobs are service restoration. That's what we do best. And the utility brochure that was put together by the utility committee of the Y2K planning team and has been distributed to the citizens, and you'll get copies of it if you haven't already, is another tool that we can use to get out the word to the people of Missoula that yes, we indeed are ready, and that really we're in really good shape for Y2K. I would like to take a minute of your time this afternoon to kind of update you on the electric industry as a whole. Bonneville Power and Montana Power Company are the two power suppliers for we in Missoula and Missoula County. And they have done all of their computer testing and equipment testing and replacement that needs to be done. And their towers and heavy wires on their transmission grid are Y2K compliant, just as the wooden poles and wires that we have running up and down our streets and alleys are Y2K compliant. We in the electric utility industry nationwide have the capabilities to be operated manually. And as we near the Y2K event, we will be stepping ourselves closer to that manual level of operation, just in case. Again, man or Mother Nature can turn out the lights or try to. And so we will be at levels of near manual operation during the Y2K event. All of the utilities that work with the Y2K planning group and all of the utilities that I've talked to in the whole Northwest will have staff on duty, stationed at strategic sites or ready to go to strategic sites and to respond to their customers when they call in. We may experience some delays in telephone service simply from sheer overload of people wanting to get on the internet to find out what's happening during the Y2K event, and or just calling up to say Happy New Year, or just picking the phone up to see if they have dial tone, you know. And so those things have been addressed by the telephone companies. We've gotten their assurances through the committee that everything is normal, it will work. There may be delays, but it's man-caused overloads as there is on Mother's Day. And they don't anticipate any catastrophic failures, as we don't in the industry. Again, coming back to it, the grids in the electrical industry in the United States, there are 3 of them. There will be very few electrons flowing between the grids. Basically, the grids will be self-sustaining. The areas within the grids will be self-sustaining. Here in the Northwest, Bonneville Power will have at least 50% spinning reserves at Hungry Horse and Libby Dam. Montana Power Company has the ability to black start Kerr Dam and the dam at Thompson Falls if needed to come online to serve the Missoula area. And those would be the priorities, would be the populated areas close to the generation here in the Northwest. So all in all, from the utility standpoint, whether it be, I know the water company has put in a lot of backup generation just in case to be able to do it. I think the city sewer system has backup generation for wastewater. Montana Power Gas is basically the same as the electricity. They have manual capabilities. They're going to be there. So all in all, from a utility standpoint, we're ready. Now, after saying all of that, I would like to say that there will be service interruptions New Year's Eve. Somewhere, a tree will fall over a power line. Somewhere, a car will hit a telephone pole or a fire hydrant. And we're ready to respond to restore the services that need to be done at that time. So we're ready. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kate.
I don't know how far it'll reach. I wanted to talk about 2 different things today. The first was the City of Missoula as an organization, how we're ready for Y2K. I asked Dave Boring, I said, Dave, what should I tell him today? You know, are we 99% ready? And he said, we're ready and then some. We have identified all of the places within the city organization that were not Y2K compliant. We started this 3 years ago. We've replaced all of our computers. We've replaced our financial software, our permitting software, this citizen complaint software. It's all been upgraded. It's all Y2K compliant. All of the operating systems are Y2K compliant. We spent a lot of time assessing the wastewater treatment plant, making sure that alarm systems and monitors and pumps were going to be working, and those that needed to be upgraded were upgraded. And at that point, we were confident that we're okay. Now, we also realized when we were doing all of this that the city as an organization did not have a contingency plan to speak of for any kind of an emergency. So then we set about assessing how we function, what are our important functions that we do in each department, and how can we still perform those without power? How can we, can we still function as an organization if we don't have power, if we have to relocate to another building? And we're in the process right now of finishing up that emergency contingency plan. We've visited each department, talked about what they need to do, what personnel would be available in case of different types of emergencies. And we will have that plan in place by mid-December. And as part of that, we also assessed some of the things that we needed to do to keep running in case we did have any power outages. We purchased a new generator for City Hall, which is now up and running. In fact, it kicked in over Halloween when we had some fluctuations in power. It worked like a charm. We got backup generators for the wastewater treatment plant so that we can get out there and pump out some of the lift stations if we need to, if there's extended power outages. And in fact, they did have a power outage at one lift station, and that worked like a charm. So we've actually already done some testing, and we're really pleased with how that works. And so we've done that, and then as the Y2K planning team has been meeting all year long, we were also realizing that if, for instance, as a city as an organization did not have an emergency contingency plan for any type of emergency, what about all the citizens out there? How many citizens really do have a 72-hour emergency kit in their homes? And as we went out and talked to people, we realized that people are not prepared. So as the public information subcommittee of the Y2K planning team, we set about trying to figure out how we're going to inform the public about what they need to do, not just for Y2K, but for anything. And as you see, it's not just about Y2K. We want to make sure that the citizens of Missoula are prepared. So we've been going out to the neighborhood councils, talking to them, answering any questions they may have, and urging them to start thinking about taking care of their neighbors, working with people on their blocks, getting to know your neighbors, find out who may have some special needs, if they're elderly people on the block, single moms with young kids who may need some extra attention if there is some kind of an emergency or power outage, and start looking out for each other. And we've gone to, I believe it's been 7 neighborhood councils now, and had a pretty good turnout for that. So we're pleased with that. We've been working with the media. KECI is running at the 6 o'clock news spot every Monday. They're running a Y2K little spot every Monday. KPAX will be doing a special coming up later in the month. The Missoulian will be running a special, some special articles beginning right after Thanksgiving. And then what we're also working on right now is an insert, something similar to this, that will go out in the Missoulian the first week in December. And this is going to contain background information about pretty much what we've talked about, what the utilities have done, and how the community has prepared for this, but then also things that people can do to prepare, precautions about over-preparing. We don't want people to panic. We don't want people to get, too concerned, but we do want people to be aware. So this information will be in the Missoulian. It will have as large of a distribution as we can possibly get, with information about even phone numbers that they can call on New Year's Eve if they have questions and concerns. So we really feel that we've done a good job in getting the information out, and hoping that, for instance, this will be broadcast on MCAT tomorrow night at 9. Maybe if we ask nice, MCAT can run it again another time too. And so we're pretty confident we're getting the information out.
Before we open it up for questions, can I just, we have a lot of members of the team here, and if you have questions, specific questions, I'll just address them to those folks. So let me introduce folks to you. Wayne Van Meter from the Red Cross.
That I've thought about it and wonder how prepared the city is in a role, the city's role in a larger scenario. For example, the city organization has power and capability, but the community doesn't has no water service, or an extended situation that might need additional public safety resources, or and what are we expecting to be able to do in response to what outside of our organizational need, but a community need in a larger situation?
I think the closest thing I could equate that to, Jim, is recently in the northwest we've seen very severe ice storms hit in the Portland, Seattle area, and then as close as Spokane, knocking out power for an excess of 30 weeks, which eliminates water and that ability to flow. And in situations such as that, we're going to most likely have to rely upon the governor to declare an emergency, bring in the National Guard to help us deploy the right number of resources. We simply don't have that capability within either the police or the fire, or combining the sheriff and the rural fire department to meet the needs that we would have to serve at that time.
Are there any, are you planning at all to be sort of on the alert for a large, even a short duration with, let's say, party revelers getting out of control and no power to respond, and or no streetlights or whatever, things like that?
I think historically New Year's Eve has not been a problem to us, and as we look to what we're hearing this year, we're even anticipating less than a problem. Over the last 15 or 20 years, we're seeing less of it used to be amateur night for the alcohol consumers. I know a lot of the tavern owners this year are electing to go to private parties, and they're not going to have their doors open to the public. So what we do anticipate is that we're going to have more functions in the neighborhood. But through education and just proper enforcement and seeking volunteer compliance, the abuse that we've seen in years past is simply not present. And we don't anticipate this year to be a whole lot different. If we do have any fear, it would probably be in the revelers that step out on their back porch and fire off shotguns. Without a doubt, we're going to have fireworks going off. And so we have staffed as much as we can that night. But as Bill said, we are also prepared to extend into the following day. We needed to look into the second, third, fourth out day, since New Year's is on a Friday evening.
Does anyone else on the committee have any questions? Scott?
Comment. Jack mentioned that the power will go off on New Year's Eve. And it's going to take 6 strong men to convince me that a squirrel got into the transformer if my power goes off at midnight on New Year's Eve. I just think you might have 6 strong men ready to do that work in the 1 or 2 places that it occurs.
Or put the squirrels on notice.
We have.
Just one comment on the cause of the outage, and then get that information out to the public to try to alleviate the Y2K. And if, if there is a Y2K thing, we'll let them know that.
Yeah, that's from the power side of it, and from our perspective, our consumers are in the Sealy Lake area and in the Frenchtown area, and there will be some instances where there's probably going to be power outages that night, and I'm sure in Montana Power's rural areas too. And we want to be able to respond to the consumer so that they don't panic and think that it is a Y2K thing, when it could be a squirrel on a transformer put out half the city of Billings here not too long ago, so.
I've got Barbara and then Bill.
I want to make sure that we have the media, the radio stations, and some means of communicating with them so that everybody doesn't have to call the EOC.
Yeah.
Is someone going to be covering on
Yeah.
site?
The media has been involved in this process throughout the year, and the plan is that we will have a media briefing room available to those folks at night. One of the other alternatives that I'm looking at is setting up a website that media and the public can access, that we will update whenever we get new information. And that way they can access that information from their place of work. But that's in the works, and the media has been involved all along.
Thank you.
Bill.
Bill, or perhaps Sue can address this. According to President Clinton's year 2000 Conversion Council, they say that about 50% of the local 911 dispatch services are not Y2K compliant. Can you say anything about our outlying 911 dispatch centers?
Our technician says they're on a 200-year clock, so we don't really have to worry about them being sensitive to the turnover from 1999 to the year 2000. Our radios are recording equipment is Y2K compliant, and the 911 center is on the generator that's tested monthly. So, frequently we have to be ready at all times for any kind of disaster. So those are things we've thought about ahead of time.
What about the other outlying 911 centers? Where are they,
That I'm not sure I can speak to. I'm assuming or hoping that they're not planning on looking to us to take over any kind of services for them. However, I've not been contacted by any of them to do so.
I attended a guys in Hamilton on Monday night, and they had a representative from 911. I think they still have some issues to address, like their backup battery and that type of thing, that when they moved their center a few times, they weren't sure if the batteries got moved. So they are looking into those things. After their exercise, I think a lot of issues were brought up, and will be addressed before the end of the year. But that's the only one I know
They're
about.
not looking to us for support, as far as you know.
As far as I know, no.
One of the things we have a contingency plan in case the telephones do go down and we can't predict everything. The fire departments have said that they would again their fire stations. So one of the two fire stations, if they have anyone to do the fire station ready to start
Kate, I noticed there's a website on your little information board. You want to announce that for folks? I didn't really catch you
It's
plugging it.
www.ci.missoula.mt.us. And from there is a button link to the Y2K page. And there are links to some great information there.
Mike, and then
Yeah, Bill, this is a question for you. We have numerous mutual aid agreements in Missoula County and the city. How have we dealt with those mutual aid agreements with respect to this question?
Do you mean agencies within the county?
Correct. For example, fire, rural and city fire mutual aid agreement. Did we deal with that at all in the Y2K planning?
It hasn't really come up in this, but I think it's been addressed through the Missoula County Fire Protection Association. And I would have to check on that, but Chief, did you have a?
There wouldn't be anything additionally required. Whatever mutual aid request we receive, if we have resources, we'll respond to the county, and likewise, the county will respond into the city at our request. So we would treat it no differently. We're going to bring in some additional staff. There'll be one individual, at least in the 4 city fire stations, standing alone. In other words, they'll be not responding with the unit. So they'll be able to take inquiries from the public, and they'll be able to actually notify the 911 center also through cell phones and other means of any additional information if we have some kind of catastrophic breakdown that we don't anticipate.
The other way that issue was addressed was through the legislature this past session, where they set up a county-by-county mutual aid agreement statewide, where that's in place, I believe, at this time, where counties can respond to other counties without having to do anything out of the ordinary.
I just want to thank the task force, folks who have worked so much on this. I think, from where we started out several months ago, thinking that, this is probably not a big deal and we got it covered anyway, to really getting into it and looking at it and discovering, oh, geez, maybe we don't have it covered in a couple of places. But I think the process of, first of all, understanding the scope and depth of the problem, and then developing solutions that are rational and cost-effective has really been extraordinary, and I want to compliment all the individuals and institutions that have been involved in doing that. I think that it has been a very worthwhile process and has helped to give us a level of security and surety that we didn't have before, even though we may have felt we had. And I think kind of having gone through it and understanding the places where there may have been some holes, I'm certainly aware of that with respect to our sewer collection system, that we had to do some important things, and I'm glad we took the time to figure it out and make sure we got it done. But just, I think the group has really done well and has done the community a real service. And I think that the value and how well you've done your job is reflected by how much attention this is getting at this point, which I think is probably not as much as it should, but that's because we've done a good job, and I think most people feel like, oh yeah, the city and the county and the utilities have kind of sat down and figured this out for us, and so no big problem. And I think that you're all really to be complimented for that. The one thing that I think is, as I go through all this, that I think is important really to emphasize for the public is that every family should have a 72-hour kit available and know what's in it and how to use it. And I don't think most of us do. And that's regardless of Y2K. I mean, that's just a fact of life of living in western Montana. But that would be the one thing I'd really want to emphasize to the public, is that you ought to be prepared to make it pretty much on your own for 72 hours. We can give you a description of the kind of things that you ought to have available, but that's pretty important regardless of what happens on December 31st. It may be a windstorm or a rail car collision or who knows what that would make you want to use that. But having that really adds an important level of safety and security to you and your family. So thank you.
I was just going to ask Kate if she would give us a telephone number for folks. You've got it on your presentation there that the internet is available at the library for those who don't have a computer. But what about a number where people could call for this 72-hour kit?
They can actually call the American Red Cross. They have a brochure that actually has the flyer that gives the basic family emergency kit.
Do
And
do we have that, do you have the number that you could announce for the media right now? Do you know?
Yeah, the Red Cross has been keeping with big batches of these brochures to go to the sessions that they are holding in various places around the city. There are 4 of them particularly. One has to do with what Y2K is like. Another one is a checklist of things you ought to think about, which means finance, a lot of other things. Third is a general family disaster plan outline, and the 4th is a list of supplies you ought to have, and it fits right in with what was just mentioned. Ladies in my office, in the Red Cross office, were talking yesterday what they're going to do, and they were going to run their bathtubs full by supper time on the 31st, just in case they have to flush with that for a day or two. It wasn't drinking water, but they're saving in the order of 5 gallons per person. It's what's recommended by the National Red Cross, along with supplies of food for as much as 3 days.
Did you want phone numbers too?
There's the Red Cross phone number is in the book. It's 549-6441. If the office is open, that's where it rings. If not, an answering service is on duty, a live person who knows who to call for various kinds of emergencies.
Okay. You can also call my office at 523-4758 anytime. And then on New Year's Eve, actually, yeah, it'll start New Year's Eve, we'll have a phone bank set up in the Emergency Operations Center. What we're trying to do is to move Y2K related phone calls that are non-critical out of the 911 center to the phone bank. And that phone number will be in the flyer. It will also be advertised through the media, probably 2 or 3 days before New Year's Eve.
Any other questions? I'll echo the mayor's thank you and good work, and we're adjourned. Thank you.
How do the chairs agree with you?